to around 8. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Alayhi afdalus salat wa man wala. Amma ba'd. So we have paused at the end of 19. We have, and as we said to you, that Hadith 19 is one of the most important and comprehensive hadith you will ever read. Everything about it from beginning to end, and the way the hadith is narrated, the way it's been presented through conversation between a companion, and some of the things that the Prophet ﷺ offered to share and advise him on. All of these things are important details to get a good, clear understanding of the message of this hadith. And this hadith also highlights an aspect pretty much of every part of our faith, or our aqidah, as we refer to it in Arabic. So our creed, or our belief system of how Allah communicates with His servants, how the servants should depend and communicate to Allah with. So very important hadith. We only scratched the surface with respect to this hadith, but as we said before, the first run through Arba'in an-Nawawi, the ulama do it this way. They don't go full-fledged and spend 3-4 hours on one hadith right from the get-go, unless the students of knowledge request it in that particular way. Otherwise, you start off with a brief overview and then you go back. Our ulama teach us that every hadith book you ever study, no matter how short or how long and comprehensive it is, in order for you to, as a student of knowledge, to get a good comprehensive understanding of that particular book. So if you were studying Tirmidhi, or you were studying Bukhari, and you wanted to go through all of that ahadith, you should go through the book at least bare minimum 3 times. So you should study Arba'in an-Nawawi at least 3 times, and each time should be in a bit more detail than the previous one. Right? And that's how you start to gain the knowledge of not just the hadith itself, but you start putting together some of your own ayat and knowledge, and how it is connected to whatever hadith you are studying, and you start developing ways now to share and teach those ahadith. So they happen in stages. Generally speaking, at least 3 times. Any hadith book you ever study, inshallah, just kind of keep that in the back in order for you to get a good understanding. Very quickly on that note, when it comes to memorizing Quran and becoming a good reciter, how many times do you think scholars encourage us that we should review the Quran until we can feel somewhat satisfied that we are able to recite this Quran properly, i.e., you're able to lead the prayers, you're able to have your own hifz classes and teach recitation and so on and so forth. Take a guess how many times by average we are encouraged to do that. You say 10, okay. Anybody want to throw another number? 20, anything? An average, you should allow yourself to go through the Quran at least 60 times before you can say to yourself that you are qualified to lead the prayer. Imagine if we held that standard here in this part of the world, right? Like probably 80% of those that lead might want to just take a step back, continue to do a little bit of training, and perfect their voice and their tone and things of that nature, and then come up, because you're leading a jama'ah. You're standing in front of Allah and reciting His words for everyone behind you. This is no joke. That is one of the heaviest positions to be in existence. One of the heaviest, most spiritually burdensome role for anybody is, one of them is the one who leads a prayer. Because if the Prophet ﷺ was here, guess who would be leading? Not Abu Bakr, not Umar. It would be him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Even though these giants of companions can do it, but they would never even fathom the idea of doing it if he, alayhi salatu wasallam, was present. So now those who lead prayers, you're taking that position. So you have to be well above the standard of reciters that are in your community or following you. You have to be somebody that truly stands out, that people recognize and point to and said, that's the person, anywhere you see him, make sure he leads. He's at another masjid, so-and-so is here, have them lead, and so on. So all of this is captured in how we're studying, at least the first time around with respect to this book. Let's go on to Hadith number 20. عن ابن مسعود عقبة ابن عمرو والأنصاري البدري رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن مما أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة الأولى إذا لم تستح فاصنع ما شئت رواه البخاري. So let's get right into it. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said that from the words of the previous prophets, which ones? All of them. From the previous prophets, which one in particular? Not specified, default ruling, it's referring to all of the previous prophets and messengers. The ones that we know their names and the ones that we don't know. By the way, how many prophets, their names we are aware of? How many? 25. How many prophets have been sent from the beginning of Adam alayhi salam till the very last prophet, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam? How many prophets were sent? 125,000. So roughly around 125,000. One narration says 129,000. Others say similar numbers like 124,000. So roughly in that area, 100 and at least 25,000 prophets had been sent. We only know the names and the biographies of 25 of them. So when this is, if the hadith begins this way, the thing that you get from that all prophets and messengers gave the same lesson, is that what we are about to read and be taught in this hadith is something that we cannot twist or compromise with. We can't change it, we can't reinterpret it. It is exactly the way it's going to be narrated. And that is that the people still find are, if you feel no shame, then do as you wish. So from the words of the previous prophets is that you will still find people amongst the masses, amongst their communities, from the beginning till the last and final messenger. This has always been a similar message, that if you care nothing, you ever hear like some people, they say, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. That's their problem. You ever hear that? That is a rejected and un-Islamic attitude to have as a believer. You should care what others think of you, especially when you are the one in charge of what you say and what you do. Once you are in control of what you say and do, you are responsible for the impression that you give others. So it's not just black and white. This is who I am. This is the way that I want to be. How others interpret is their problem. No, if you're standing and you're in an argument with somebody and every single curse word in existence is just flying out of your mouth and others hear it and say, what a shame. That person's Muslim. As a matter of fact, the person works at the masjid. That person is involved. That person volunteers. That person is so well respected in the community. Look at their behavior. Look what they're saying. Look how they act. You don't get to come now later and say, well, I was angry. So if people think that's their problem. No, you gave that impression. You should have controlled yourself. Now, what do you do when you give the wrong impression or whatever impression you give? What do you do? Now you have to go back and you now have to accept that there are weaknesses in your personality that you need to address. It is not, that's who I am, so too bad for everyone. Because Islam gives us certain standards to follow. What are those standards? You all know them. So here's the first one. When you meet a fellow Muslim, what's the first thing you should say to him or her? You start off with a salam. Not, hey, good morning, what's going on? I haven't seen you so long. Even if it's casual. Wait a minute, did I forget to say salam to you? Oh my God, so sorry. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, yeah, let's get back to it. So that's by default. You tune your mind and your habits to Assalamu alaikum. Second thing is, if you're having a bad day, I hate to say it in this way, but I'm sure you'll understand what I'm saying here, is that if you had a bad day, that is nobody else's concern except you. You don't get to take that out on somebody else. You don't get to talk with a rude or condescending tone just because you had a bad day. And even if they ask you, why do you like this? Like, why do you sound like, are you okay? Oh, no, it's none of your business. Don't worry about it. Why are you trying to know my life? Just forget about it. You know what? I don't even want to talk to you. I'm gone. You don't get to do that. And unfortunately, because of the society that we live in, these are some of the etiquettes that are not just taught, that are acceptable. And a culture is amongst us that this is okay. It's okay for you to let out whatever your personal life, whatever's going on in there, to just let it out on somebody who might potentially annoy you knowingly or not knowingly. It's too bad for them. They caught you at a bad time. Do people sometimes slip? Like sometimes they just kind of say something and then the person returns like, oh my God, they must be having a crazy day or something's wrong with this one. I'm not going to text them anymore. I'm not going to even talk to them. I'm just going to leave them alone. How dare they talk to me that way? You are allowed to then come back and say, listen, man, I apologize. Apologize the tone and choice of words. I didn't mean that. I was having a bad day and I should not have taken it out on you. I should not have let it out. Everything about the believer and how he or she interacts with people all boils down to one thing, and that is good akhlaq and good etiquettes. If someone now coming to the hadith, فَإِذْ لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ, that if you have tastahi or istihya is also if you're not embarrassed. So you can say, أَنَا أَسْتَحِي مِنْ, I am embarrassed from this person or that one. So istahi, that's used in the ayah, means literally when you're shy or you're embarrassed. So if you reach at a stage in your life, and oh my goodness, don't we all know people like this? They have gotten to a stage in their life where their bad behavior, the tone and choice of words they use, and how they address with people, whether they're good or bad to them, their habits, This is how I grew up. This is how we act. Any guests we go to and visit, yeah, we open up their fridge and help ourselves. That's just the way we are, right? And generally speaking, that's not good akhlaq when you're visiting somebody, right? And if you reach a point where none of that bothers you anymore, then the Prophet ﷺ says, in that case, just do whatever you want. Meaning, write this down, the ending, فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ, do as you wish, meaning there is no hope for you. Everything that you do, you will never achieve the complete reward as long as you live like this, as someone that can never be taught, that can never be reminded, that can never be educated. As long as you reach to that person at that stage, it doesn't matter what ahadith or ayat you are taught, none of it will help you. This person who reaches this stage of their life has reached a place of no return. The only way they can turn their life around is how? You tell me, how do you change this situation that somebody's gotten to this point? How do you change that? What's the first step? Before that, the dua is always there. Absolutely right. Before all of that, if I make dua for this person, it's got no shame, no limits. I don't know if Allah will accept my dua. I don't know if Allah will give me exactly what I'm asking for this individual. So although I continue to do that, there's something prior that has to happen here before the du'as and everything else. That's it. This individual has got to come to a stage where I need to stop acting this. I need to change. That is something you can't teach someone. All you can do is do what we always do, is just hope that perhaps maybe they may listen to one piece of advice, but I'm going to keep on advising them. I'm going to keep on reminding them. By the way, all human beings have a little bit of this in us. Do you know how I know this? I don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to ask. We all have a little bit of, I don't care, that's their problem kind of attitude. How do we know this? The Quran said something that kind of leaned us towards this attitude. And that is, فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Keep reminding, because reminders do what? Tanfa' is the word that's used in the ayah. You know what tanfa' really means? Like, it comes from the 3-letter verb nun fa'ain, nafa'a. Tanfa' means that when you take something, it's at this level, it's in this table, and I want it to be at a higher table. This is called infa'. Anfa', you take something, and as a result of it, it raises you. Literally, physically, it raises you. So when you hear to yourself, you know what? Missing Fajr on time is really, really a big deal. Like, if I start my day like that every single day, it's the first indicator, spiritual alarm bell, that if somebody is careless with waking up late for Fajr, it's just not like a thing for them. They pray every day, but they're not disciplined in taking it seriously, the timings. This is the first clue scholars say is the first indicator that possibly none of your prayers are going to be accepted. Is if you play around with one prayer, Fajr, and then you start off with its timings. The other thing that causes somebody to lose the rewards, not necessarily have their prayers rejected, but they will lose tremendous barakah and rewards in each of their salah, is that when they do get up on time, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Allahu Akbar. So you either two shortest surahs, or you break down Ikhlas into 2 rak'ats, right? And then you just kind of crawl back into bed. Technically, yes, you completed the prayer. But did you complete it in its fullest, in the way that the Sunnah has taught us, in the way that the righteous perform this? No. Are you able to extend and lengthen the Fajr and read some longer surahs that you've memorized? Yeah, but I'm just, I just want to get back into bed. So that kind of mindset causes the individual to lose the full barakah and blessing and all of the things that come out of praying Fajr on time. We all know tell me one of the rewards of praying Fajr on time. What is it? What's one barakah, one blessing of praying Fajr, praying it correctly and on time? What do you get from that? Say again?
Angels witness the Quran, which is the Sahih.
Sure, the angels. So there's a verse, وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ, that the Quran that's being recited at Fajr time, that the angels make a special emphasis on paying attention, recording, and listening to the Quran recited in all of the prayers, but especially Fajr. Think of it this way. You just you listen to your favorite reciter on your phone, but then you hear that your favorite reciter is at your local masjid. You can still listen to the entire Quran with his or her voice on your phone, but only this time you want to listen and hear it live as it's happening in front of you. Are both of these experiences different, or are they both the same? Are they the exact same thing? Listening to them live as opposed to listening to them on your phone. Is this the same Quranic experience? Absolutely not. Not even close. The effort you take to pause your day, get ready, come out of your house, get to this place, sit down, wait. The event is starting late. The Shaykh hasn't arrived yet. Okay, we'll go pray first. We need to get snacks. Everybody's child is crying. This person wants to go home. Shaykh only recited Qul Huwallahu Ahad and left. What is going on? All of these things add to your Quranic experience, all right? And the barakah and reward is just increased more and more. You can't get that just by listening to it off a device. They're both great, but one is far more superior in terms of barakah than the other. Apply the same logic to this hadith. Now, one last thing and then we'll move on. This hadith can be understood in three ways. Number one, as a warning that those without shame will face accountability. فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ, meaning do whatever you want and, as you wish. And the first thing is, with no shame, it causes you to do whatever you want. And the ending of the hadith by saying, فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ, just do what you wish, also is understood, do what you wish, because there will be a time that accountability will arrive. I can't give you accountability. You're obviously not taking accountability for yourself. So this hadith is a warning that if this is the path you wish, go ahead, enjoy it. Do whatever you want. Your turn will come. Number two, as a description of how people lacking shame behave. So this also gives us an image of when somebody reaches to this phase, how they end up behaving. Is this kind of behavior where somebody doesn't feel shy with anything? Are we as people, can we recognize this behavior when we see it? Can you recognize the behavior or the tone of somebody who really and truly doesn't care, as opposed to someone else like me and you, who actually do care about others and how they feel and how they react when you're there? Can you at least you recognize the two? Absolutely. Give me an example. Give me an example of somebody, like a habit that he or she may have that indicates to you immediately, this person really has no shame. They don't care nothing. Give me an example of that. Say again? Okay, a loose tongue. A loose tongue. Not even just swearing. Did you see so-and-so? Oh my God, wearing the same wore the same outfit I had? Oh my God, they probably were watching me. And besides, it doesn't look good on them anyway. Just talking, backbiting, even lying. Even you're telling the truth, but just that tone comes off in a condescending way. Yeah, you know what? She's pregnant, her first child. Whoop-de-doo. That kind of response, right? Yeah, we do this. When I say we, like Muslims in general, do this all day, all the time. The lack of concern of your choice of words and how others would feel hearing it is something almost impossible to find, that person. This hadith, number 3, also can highlight, is understood and as a guide for the believers to use their own sense of shame as a barometer for permissible action. So basically, you have this sort of mental measuring tool that when you hear certain attitudes or you observe certain behaviors, you know this is not from Islam. Because you are a believer that has not been at or has not arrived at this stage in your life, you're easily able now to look at the situation and remind yourself, had I let myself go, this is possibly how I would have ended up. And I don't want to be that person. So at least you have a clear-cut example that now you can use and you can educate yourself, remind others as well. Like, you see that? The way they talked, the way they acted, that's why you're learning these akhlaq and these etiquettes, so you don't become and do those things. And that's okay. You are allowed to point out the actions of certain individuals. But when you highlight that person who acted that way, you know, the person that always prays at the back on the right side wearing so and so, I don't want to say his or her name because I don't want to backbite. You know, they were there actually standing right beside you. But anyhow, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to backbite. So every detail and description is given. You know, you see the color socks that he or she was, I don't want to say her name. But you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say the name. Muslims find like these really weird and strange hybrid ways of communicating, thinking that they can just get away with it. Like, you know, I don't want to backbite, brother, but I really want to tell you about so-and-so who's just annoying. But I don't want to backbite, but they're just annoying. Are they annoying to you? No, they're just annoying everywhere they are. They're just annoying being there. And I'm annoyed by it. What can I do? Go home and leave the person alone. So all of this is what you see and learn from this one, a hadith. This is one of those hadith students that I feel like it should be like painted on the walls of every Islamic school, every masjid, every institute. These are some of the hadith. This is one of them that I feel that everybody who comes into a place where the best akhlaq should shine and outshine what they experience outside of these walls. This is one of those reminders. And nobody wants to be at this stage, okay? So we ask Allah, of course, always and forever to protect us from ever reaching a stage in our lives where when we commit any shameful behavior or verbalize any shameful things, that we don't reach to a place where we are unconscious, spiritually unconscious. We just don't hear ourselves and we're not concerned about listening to ourselves either. May Allah protect us from that. I mean, okay. Acquiring shyness. So these are just some things that, you know, we don't like to just highlight a problem and leave it there. Here are some of the things that, you know, the Sunnah has taught us of how to increase. Now, obviously, you know, the hadith is really pointing at when somebody istahi also means shyness. So when somebody is also the opposite of shyness, opposite of shyness. So istahi is the opposite. When somebody reaches a phase, they're not shy at all. Here are some of the things that they can do in Islam that helps us to combat that kind of habit. So it can be the person acquires shyness by increasing in ilm, recognizing the presence of Allah, meaning that they are constantly reminding themselves of the present. Allah is always watching me. Allah is always listening to me. Everybody understand? And emulating and following the character of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Like, this is kind of like our constitution that we go back to whenever you are in a situation with people who have lost care and concern for themselves. This is kind of like the standard you always go back to and say, listen, man, we really need to learn and understand how important it is to watch what we say, Watch how we act. And in addition, that happens because you're reminding yourself, Ya akhi, don't act that way. Allah is watching. Fear Allah. And then, of course, the Prophet ﷺ, and his character. One last point. When you have to go back to the character and the etiquettes of the Prophet ﷺ, right? Why is that important? Why is that third point, why is that important for the believer whenever he or she finds themselves that they are the subject the hadith is pointing to? Why is going back to the character, the etiquettes, the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ important?
Achievable. You can achieve it.
Okay.
He was sent to
Sure. Okay, good.
He was sent to, Sallallahu was sent to perfect the character.
He came and he was sent to perfect character. That's all amazing, 100% great information. He was a role model, but when you're telling the person who is the subject of the hadith, you're telling them, listen, the Prophet ﷺ is our role model. He has the best of akhlaq. That was his whole prophethood, is all about teaching us how to have good akhlaq. So you need to follow that. What does that in essence then teach or tell the person, the subject of this hadith? This is what I'm trying to get at. You might give them all the advice and point them to all of these resources, but they can still say to you, well, that's your problem. It's not offensive to me. You're too sensitive. I grew up talking like that. Don't blame me. That's just how. My parents don't have a problem with the way I talk. My kids or my wife or my husband, they don't have a problem. So in essence, you're the problem. Because we talk this way and call people these names all the time. It's not a big deal. I'm perfectly okay. You're the one that's getting offended. So to avoid that, you go back to how the Prophet ﷺ teaches us to act in the same scenario. You understand? That's common. It's like, yo, this is us people where we come from. This is how we grew up. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But guess what? Where you come from, how you grew up, what country or culture you come from, nobody cares. It doesn't matter. Because all of that culture and any part of the world you come to, if you are a Muslim and you're striving to be the best, all of us have to go back to the same spot. And that's how you avoid that, okay, they interpret it differently, but this is how we are, this is how we grew up, so too bad for them. And it kind of almost shifts like the argument that it all of a sudden now makes you, the person who's trying to give good advice, it makes it look like you're the one that doesn't know anything. You got akhlaq issues. You're making something that is not a problem for them a problem now for you. So they might interpret, well, maybe I just need to limit my time around you then, because you get all crazy and start lecturing me, giving me khutbahs and this and that. I don't need that, because everybody in my house and in my life are perfectly okay. You know, one day I will speak about this, inshallah, but I think that is one of the spiritual forms of shirk that Muslims commit. We may not bow down to a tree. We may not prostrate to a statue, but we do, however, bow down to what we're used to. One of the names of that is culture. If we walk into a building and we don't see our similar anywhere else, for a lot of Muslims, they feel like, oh, it's kind of weird. Wow, look how loud they are. Look how that person's dressed. Back where I came from, my country or my community or this masjid, and that's how it came about, right? The Indian masjid here, the Somali masjid here, the Arab masjid here, the West Indian masjid here, all of these groups indirectly, without even like really pausing and thinking about what exactly we're saying, why we end up going to the same places and getting accustomed to that. and just wanting that everywhere else we go, one reason that creates that is culture. You cannot break out of your culture. It's as if it's an idol in your life that you constantly bow down to, because if you don't find it anywhere else, then you're uncomfortable. I don't want to go to that masjid again because the way they served iftar, I don't like it. I'll go somewhere else. My own people, they give you like ketchup and hot sauce and all of that good stuff. So I'm just good. Like, you got to just pause. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to places you're comfortable with. Just don't make that the reason why you're there, okay? That's the whole point. Hadith number 21. عن أبي عمرو وقيل, and it is also said, أبي عمرة سفيان ابن عبد الله رضي الله عنه قال قلت يا رسول الله. So this is Sufyan ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, who is narrating that we said, O Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, tell me something about Islam which I can ask of no one else but you. Tell me something. قل لي في الإسلام قولا لا أسأل عنه أحدا غيرك. Okay? And he alayhi salatu wassalam responds and says, say, I believe in Allah, and then be consistent, steadfast. قل آمنت بالله ثم استقم. ثم استقم. Have you heard this hadith before? آمنت بالله ثم استقم. This here is pretty much all of Islam summarized in just 5 words. Say, I believe in Allah. Amantu billah. What does that mean, students? Okay, let's just make sure that it's clear and it's simple. When I say to you, you say to me, believe in Allah. What am I asking you to believe in? Say it to me now. What are they? Number 1. You all know this. We're just trying to like organize our thoughts to be on the same page, okay? But you all know the answer to this, so don't be concerned. When we say, I want you to believe in Allah, number 1, you believe in Allah and all of His names and attributes. So when you believe in Allah, you don't just be like, yeah, I know Allah is there. I mean, I can't see Him or talk to Him or text Him or anything like that. I can't see Him in my dream, nothing, but I know He's there. What makes you believe in an entity you cannot communicate and hear the voice in return? You cannot see. What makes you believe in that? The names of Allah and the attributes of Allah. That is why scholars say that studying the names and attributes of Allah is what? The only biography we have of Allah. We don't know anything else about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except through these 99 names and attributes of Allah. So the first thing is, when we are told, believe in Allah, meaning to accept who Allah is, and getting to know Him, meaning and understanding at least what these 99 names and attributes represent, what these 99 names and attributes request and call from you and me. That's number 1. What's number 2? You believe in also and follow whom? The Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. You can never believe in Allah unless with that you follow the instructions of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, right? Number 3, that's the last word in this hadith. ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ is this one particular hadith is teaching us, like, you talk the talk, now you need to walk the walk, okay? So put all of that now into action. But istiqama is more than just follow. Have you heard this? إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل على in Surah Fussilat, right? So Allah says, indeed the ones who pronounce and proclaim, okay? قالوا ربنا الله, Allah is my master. So they fulfill the first sentence of the hadith, Allah is my master. Then immediately after, what do they do with that belief system? It has to manifest. It's got to show. You got to prove it. So you prove it now. ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Istiqama. Now my question to you is this. There are a lot of words that are used in Arabic that mean follow, okay? Match or replicate the actions of that individual, okay? Tashbih from shuhba, ata'a or ta'atun, right? To follow, to replicate, ittiba'un. To be curious as you're following. Why is he going there? What's that next step? Why did he turn left? Okay, let's go see where it goes. That's ittiba'un now. You're not just following, but you're also following and paying attention and inquiring and learning and thirsty for the next move, the next step, the next action. In this hadith, the word istiqama is used. ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. That comes from the word that you hear every single day. What is the call that is made before the prayer begins? You have the adhan. What comes after that? The iqama is a signal for you and I to do what? It's time, get up. And the sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ, the companions had a specific moment during the iqama when they would stand. What is that? قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ. The sunnah is to remain seated until the mu'adhin gets to قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ. Once you hear it, then you gradually come up. That doesn't mean that, what most of us probably do regularly, which is as soon as we hear the iqamah begins, we all start standing up, because why? It takes us some time to get organized, get into line, get the kids settled down, that sort of thing. And sometimes it even happens very normally, like it happens that where half the congregation stands up before the mu'adhin takes the mic. And if he's 1 minute late or 40 seconds late, you go do the iqamah. I don't know where this mu'adhin is. Right? That happens. To eliminate all of this. Now here's the wisdom why قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ. It's not just because that point of the iqamah literally tells you that time has come for you to stand up for salah. It's not necessarily just because you hear that cue. But everything in before that. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. What are the 4 things you just heard? Allah's name. Allah is the greatest. You heard that twice. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. What do we call this? Why is the first statement before you start praying, why are you being reminded who you're praying to and your identity, your shahada? Why are you being reminded these 4 things? Shouldn't the adhan at least start off with like, okay, get up, stand straight, make sure heels line up together as best as. Why are we not given those instructions when we stand up? Those are important, are they? Fill in the gaps. Imagine adhan was that. It was actually like instructions of how you should stand up and line up. But none of it is that. Because the iqamah is the final reminder who you're going to stand in front of and how you should stand in front of him. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. Reminding yourself that part of your shahada is to believe in the Prophet ﷺ. We just said, when we believe in the Prophet, what does that mean? We follow every instruction he's left us with to the best of our ability. That's the mindset of the iqamah. So if you are running late, still doing wudu or something else, or you're just talking to somebody, get over here now. Come. Hayya doesn't mean like, okay, just come to prayer. Do you know how Arabs use the word hayya? Hayya, 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 hayya. It's not just like, okay, let's just walk over there. Hayya ya jama. Come on, quietly. No, hayya is also the term that you use, like the farmer uses when they have like their goats and sheep trying to run the other direction. Hayya, hayya, hayya. And sometimes they'll have like a stick just to get their attention and get moving. And it's urgent, like you need to get in now, go. That's actually what you're being called to do, is like whatever you were talking about, whatever you were doing, drop it and get here quickly. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah. Now, if all of that is done, you're still like sitting there, no problem. Because now you've gotten the reminders. Just refresh your heart and your mind focused for the last few seconds. Okay, now you can get up. Now stand in front of him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, if only like the Muslims really paid attention to iqamah this way. Can you imagine? It's nothing that happened before the salah, before the iqamah would bother you. Because you just heard Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Last thing, and then we move on. Why is it that, generally speaking, now this is a genuine question I ask all of you. Why is it that when we talk about Iman and believing in Allah, why is it something that does not stimulate, spiritually stimulate the believer to want to get up and appreciate and show their belief in Allah? Why is it usually those are just like words? Yes, yes, I do believe in Allah, khair, inshallah. Now make sure you fold your hands like this. Don't put it down like this. Make sure you're looking straight. More emphasis on the actions and fiqh. But when it comes to the heart and belief, it's almost like it is what it is. I believe it. Yeah, I believe in Allah. Okay, khair. So you're going to pray like the Hanafi way or the Shafi'i way? What about you? Okay. Like those things become more of a priority. Why is that? First of all, do you agree? Yes. More emphasis on the practical side of rituals and less with the spiritual or the theory aspect of these rituals, the knowledge behind it, who you believe, who you're standing in front of. We don't really like pay much attention to that. Why does that happen? Okay, good. Good. Habits that, you know, you've grown up with, the people you're on. Okay, what else?
The heart is not triggered enough to know.
Okay.
We don't know what is to establish a salah.
Okay, good. All of these answers, absolutely. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like when it comes to like our parents and their grandparents, the lack of films when it comes to the beat. So there was not like a lot of films, but there was more like
Agree.
emphasis on the ritualistic.
As a matter of fact, all of you are right. I would put that response at the top of the list. I honestly, like, my whole life is this. This is what I do. I teach and I give da'wah. And this is what I do my entire life. And I can comfortably say to you, from my own miskeen experience with da'wah and meeting Muslims everywhere, is that the number one reason why we constantly have to be reminded about who Allah is, who we're standing in front of, and that's just interpreted and downloaded as just information that sits here, and more focus on the practical things, is that most Muslims simply don't know who Allah is. They know His name. They know that when they make dua, they call upon Allah. They don't know who He is actually. And those names and attributes, a lot of Muslims have never like taken the time to, and I don't mean like not memorizing. Memorizing is secondary, all right? And I want to make sure that that's clear, because the Hadith tells us that whoever memorizes the 99 names of Allah, what is the reward? Jannah. The word that's used in the Hadith is, say it again? So the word that's used in this Hadith is not just about memorizing. Man ahsa, memorize, understand, and at least have some insight of what these names are and what they represent. You don't have to sit there and write an encyclopedia on each name. You simply just need to understand why these names are important and what they tell you about Allah. If you do this, if you haven't done this and you do it, you'll see, I promise you, inshallah, Those of you that have not studied the names and attributes of Allah, if you did this, I promise you, inshallah, that after the first name you learn about, you will go into your next prayer and you will feel like you have never prayed your entire life until that moment. It's just like the student who studies Arabic and then they can finally understand Quran. My goodness, you literally feel like this is my first salah. Those surahs I've been listening to repeated every Taraweeh, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka until the end. Now I understand what I'm at least what's being talked about. So that helps you to shift your focus and your concentration. It helps you through that. Now you're actually paying attention to what these surahs are talking about. Why the Imam chose those surahs. The best way to appreciate that is you just listen to the surahs that the Imams of Mecca and Medina recite every prayer. It's not just random. During Hajj seasons, 99% of the time you can bet that if you listen to any of the salat that happen in these two harams during Hajj season, what ayat are you going to be hearing the most? All about Hajj. From Surah Hajj. Al-Hajj this, everything. And then Ramadan comes, just before Ramadan, you better believe it. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. All of the ayat about siyam is given. Why? Because it brings us back to this. It's to sort of reinforce and remind you what it is that you're actually doing. And to do that, it starts off with your heart. Reminding yourself and educating yourself, like your belief that you have in your heart, that is the thing you need to focus on. The fiqh of the salah comes after. This is the priority. Now, ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ, when we say stay steadfast, it's a little wordy. It's more like make this your priority. That since you are a believer now, you need to live the life. So make that your utmost priority. That's the thing that is iqamah, that stands in your life more than anything else. So don't just think about prayer. Like your iman has its own iqamah, and that iqamah is your actions. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Here's a few notes that I placed. Oh man, I'm running out of time. Okay, let's just go to 8:30. I mean, Muslims don't usually start anything on time anyway, right? I might as well just keep that habit going. I mean, when I get into something and my mind is on this thing, I need to finish it. So, inshallah khair. Say, I believe in Allah. This part of the hadith emphasizes the need to outwardly proclaim your faith, not just hold it in your heart, which you already talked about, okay? And then be steadfast. The word then signifies that belief must be followed with action, which we already discussed. Steadfastness or istiqamah means to be firm and upright in your action. So this is also part of the definition. You don't pray like this. No, if your body allows you to, stand up like you're actually trying to stand up. You know, align your feet towards the qibla as best as you can. You know, if you have problems with your hijab every time you run into ruku', well, part of the hair falls, then you just got to do the every rak'ah. Get that together. You're disrupting your istiqamah in the prayer. Get that together. Even for the men, same idea. If there's just stuff, your jacket is constantly have to, you know, just every rak'ah, stop doing that. Limit those actions because you're losing this istiqamah. Istiqamah literally is stand still. But just so you understand the point, stand up like you care. Like let your actions show without proclaiming, I actually care about this moment, whatever it is you're doing. So be constant in performing good deeds and to refrain completely as best as possible from evil. This is also a comprehensive guidance. The Prophet ﷺ delivered this as a comprehensive statement, summarizing the essence of Islam in a way that is both easy to remember and easy to practice. Yeah, there's a general principle in hadith study And that is, the shorter the hadith, the more comprehensive it is. So when you read any hadith that's got 2 or 3 words, 1, 2 sentences, just understand that that is actually summarizing an enormous part of your faith. In this case, it's highlighting whatever it is you believe, everything in your life has to be done 100% to the best of your ability, no matter what it is. That's istiqamah. Unfortunately, the contrast of that is a lot of people have great istiqamah in salah until salah is done. Do you see how Muslims get out of parking lots? Do you see how some Muslims get into parking lots? Do you see how Muslims stand up in line for food? Like, that's istiqamah. Like, it's supposed to be in all of that as well. Like, if it says no parking, no stopping, it's emergency, technically you shouldn't do that. You're breaking this law in this hadith. You're compromising, you're taking it lightly. Don't do that. Okay, so that's what is the message that is given to us here. And I think that is a great way to pause, insha'Allah ta'ala, for the winter break. So students, insha'Allah, just look out perhaps on Facebook, on social media, as well as the IIT website of the exact date we will resume. Because I don't know if it's the first week or the second week of January, but most likely it'll be the second week unless something changes. So I don't want to give you a date right now. Just look for it online. I'm sure you will hear about it. It'll be announced here as well. But until then, brothers and sisters, please, I ask you and I ask myself that insha'Allah, all that we have gone through thus far, you should be very proud. You should be very proud of yourself that Allah brought you to this point in this book, right? It's quite an accomplishment, and you have done something that many Muslims have never done, going through 20 plus ahadith in one of the most accepted and respectable books or collections of hadith in existence. Arba'een an-Nawawi. So it's something for you to spiritually appreciate and celebrate. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us our efforts from when we began to this point. Allahumma ameen. Students, stay safe out there. Obviously, you've heard about some of the devastating things that have happened around the world that at the end of the day really pretty much makes us become more vigilant, and you have to sort of keep your guards up everywhere you go. So just do those things, insha'Allah. Stay safe, and insha'Allah ta'ala, I will be leaving for Umrah after 2 days, so I will be there. And insha'Allah ta'ala, you don't even have to ask, but I will definitely 100% insha'Allah remember all of you in my du'as bi'idhnillah. Okay? Jazakallahu khairan, and insha'Allah ta'ala, I'll meet you next year. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa iyaakum.